Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everyone. I have been waiting to do this episode. I've been waiting to share this with you. It is finally time to share this behemoth of a build that was announced at LegoCon, was shown at LegoCon, the Lion Knights Castle of 2022. Incredible. This is going to be a long episode. Get your snacks, get your drinks, buckle in, sit back and enjoy. And if you are in a car, make sure you are buckled in. But with that in mind, that's what we're talking about today. So let's jump into all the, the specifics, the details and stuff like this. This is not going to be available until August 8th in the United States, I think as well, maybe in Europe. Either way, you've still got some time. You've got some time to save up all that coinage and put it towards this behemoth of a build, which is, you'll find out. It's just amazingly incredible. Anyway, so this thing is going to retail for $400, which we already knew. But it is going to be a $400 build. I think it's well worth it. You'll see why. It does fall under the Lego Icons. 10305 is the set number if you're looking for that. And it has 4,514 pieces, which is a lot. Now, there are some of those that are, smaller pieces and stuff like that, but you still get a very good feel for the 4,500 pieces. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I have only built smaller castle things from my younger childhood. Very, very small things. I've never had a big castle. I've never had any of the original castles. So just keep that in mind. I don't know all of my castle history. So you big castle buffs out there that know everything inside, outside, and backwards and, all the backstories to all these minifigs and stuff like that, I don't. So let's get that out right away. First things first. The build process for this was one where I never had a single moment of repetitive building. I'm doing this again. This is kind of boring. I can't wait to get through this bag to get to the next bag. Not once did I have that issue. One of the other things that I noticed is with some sets, you have minifigs usually in the beginning. You might have one in the middle and then one closer to the end, someone of higher importance or something like that. They were scattered throughout all 26 bags. 26 numbered bags. So they were scattered throughout. And obviously when you got to the end, you're finishing things up and you're getting the more important figures with the horses and with the drapery that goes over the horses and, all the capes and stuff like that and the magical swords and stuff. Of course, that is when you're getting more of those. But they are peppered throughout of nice minifigs just to add to it. Now, there's also a bunch of little small builds that actually fit inside of the castle, which you don't need to use in the castle. You could pull them out and use them in your own way or whatever. There's also some motion that comes into play with this in multiple places in the castle. There are also different configurations that you can do with the castle because you are building essentially two different sections. And then you can combine them. You can combine them and make them their own little piece. You can make them one long layout, or I found a way, it's not the prettiest, but I found a way where you can kind of connect them to almost have like a courtyard in the center. But yeah, so we'll talk about that as we get further along. But I just want to go through and I just want to start with what the build looks like on the outside. We'll start with essentially the very first section of the build, and then we'll just go through that. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the outside, the facade of this thing, because that's really where a lot of people are going to have their attention focused, especially if you have this thing out on display. So it is hinged in one specific spot, right down the middle pretty much, And then up at the top, it also has an extra hinge because there's a little walkway bridge, and you've got to have it that way or else I would assume it would break in some way, shape, or form. The thing to take into account here is you have a lot of the nice gray that is going on in here. Some really good choices for pops of color in plants and different textures. Even the texturing of the windows that we'll talk about here in a moment, just everything really works well. Plus the roof, everything just works so nice together. So let's go ahead and we'll start from the left side here. And I'm going to start near the bottom. And at the bottom, you have a rocky outcropping here that is brick built to just, give it some texture and stuff like that. You've got some plants that are adorning, almost kind of like holly that's climbing up, or vines that are kind of climbing up the side of the building. You have 2 windowsills here, brick built windowsills that have some different colored flowers on there. You have the dark red and some white, and then obviously some green. You have a pine tree, some kind of coniferous tree that is down below along the water line, because you do have some water around this castle build, because what castle did not? They used water for a bunch of different things. There is a little window that is down here. And if you were to look at it from the inside, this is essentially the milling area. And we'll talk about that once we get to the back side of this build. As we move further to the right, what you have is a little water mill, a little water turning station here. And what that is doing is there's actually a turning function that's going on inside to grind up your stuff or whatever that you're doing in your mill, or if you're sharpening something. I'm pretty sure this is not meant to be a blacksmith shop, that this is supposed to be like a granary of some kind back in its time. So as you move up above the flower boxes, you have some really nice decorative windows that are brick built, and they use the very ornate decoration here of the 1x1 brick that has that really curled decoration. We see it on the modulars all the time, but they have that, and it just gives you a nice little window into the inside of what you're looking at, into like the supposed main dining area, if you will, of maybe the queen or the king, whoever is here. Then as we move up a little further, we have the black and white brick built decoration that is going on here, made up of plates and bricks and stuff like that. But the black and the white really look great. You have rectangular boxes that are separated, obviously, by the black plates and stuff like that. And what you end up getting is just a really nice mix of color and a different feel for texture. And it doesn't really have any extra texture to it. It's just a very unique way that it is built. And it was something that I didn't really expect from this build, honestly. It's just a unique way that it's done. I will say that. I'm going to let you experience it for yourself, because I don't want to take everything away from you guys. There are some things that you just need to do for yourself to experience, because they are truly, truly, truly incredible. But, some studs on the side type thing, flipping things on their side to be able to build up. Anyway, as we move up, you have 4 windows here that have some black screens that are in them. And then you have your thatched roof. Your thatched roof uses the newer animal claw type piece. You have the 3 toes that are kind of there, and they use those, and they use some slopes as well in here to just give it a little of a different pop of color and texture. These are in nougat color. I'm not quite sure, medium nougat maybe. But you have a bunch of those, and the way you're building those is you kind of have your base where you're building on a plate that goes across. It spans the length. And then you're attaching all of these pieces of of roof thatching, all the roof thatching. And as you're stepping up, you're adding another 1 by whatever the length may be, because there are 2 different lengths here, plate. And that is how you're attaching until you get to the top. So everything is solid. You essentially are attaching that one big piece at once. So I'm going to continue across the front here, and just on this part of the build as well, there is a little outcropping here for maybe your archer, or somebody wants to go take a walk. It's just a little tiny rectangular tower stand area up there that has some cuts in the in the stone so that you are able to, look down or aim your bow and arrow down if you're protecting the castle or whatnot. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I swear I've seen these before. They are the new corner pieces. So we've seen the 1x1 modified brick that is it has that arch across it. It's almost like a brick / tile because it is rounded across the top. Now what you're getting one in a 90-degree bend. So it essentially accounts for 3 studs. So you have one on one side, one on the other, and then you have where it's angled in the middle to give you that 90-degree angle for these corners and stuff. They may be new. I can't remember if I've seen them somewhere else. But either way, they are going to make modulars a whole different story moving forward for a lot of people. You also have a flag that is sticking up here on a pole. You've got 2 different flags, a red one and a yellow one, just a regular flag, a plastic flag, not anything that is cloth-like. So then you move across the bridge here where I got a dude standing right now, some decoration that's here, and we move on to the other side of this build on the exterior. Starting from the top, because we're already kind of up there, this is an actual fabric flag that they have here with the line with the red tongue sticking out of it. It's a blue flag with some red trim piping around it. You have a big watchtower area that is up here. I really like the way those were done because what you're essentially doing is you're building up on just one big plate, and then you plop the plate down on top. Boom, ready made, game over, good night. Now, they do use these 1x1 tiles that are rounded on one end the whole way around the top of this kind of stuff, around the very top end of the castle, on the entire castle. And it is a nice way of doing it. Now, when I started building it, or when I got to near that point, because they're using like 1x1 modified bricks that have the studs on the outside. It could be 1, it could be 2. If you're on a corner, obviously it's 2 at a 90-degree corner. And I thought, okay, well, why don't they put these on now? This is going to seem like a pain in the butt to do it later. Well, there's a reason for the madness. Because after you stick on this entire top section, the part that I talked about where you're building on top of the plate and then you're just plunking it down on top, those tiles go on way easier because they're already readily lined up due to the plate being there. There's a physical space stopping it from being able to turn. You've put them on other things and stuff like that, and you're like, you're trying to make it 100% perfect. It's got to be level the whole way across, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. If you're a perfectionist, it drives you absolutely nuts. So it does work really well that way. Down below there, we do have another window that you have to look out or, whatever. You don't have access to that one to the inside. It's just more for decoration, but it does have the bell that is in there, the brick built bell tower. I do like that. It does not move. It does not have a function. Like there's not a gear you can turn or anything like that. It's just in there for decoration. As we move down a little bit, we have these nice, I love the way these windows were done, by the way. Lego, kudos to you for doing these. These windows that were done, they are the super duper narrow ones, so nothing can come through. No, flame arrows or cannonball. Oh, did they use cannonballs? I don't know. None of that can come through. It's too narrow. And the way they accomplish this is in a few different ways. So on the very bottom of that part of the window, because it is super narrow, it is only one plate wide. Okay. They put a tile on the bottom. Then you have a 1x4 tile that is attached to a 1x2 brick that has studs that are, on one side, the open hold studs, and you just attach that, stick your brick on both sides. That gives you the narrow opening. And then on the top, you're like, well, how do they get the same coloring? You said it's only a 1 tile wide. What they do is, depending where you are in the build, in some spots it changes, but they either use a 1x3 brick or they use a 1x4 brick. And what you do is you stick a 1x1 plate of the same color, the dark bluish gray for the window lining. On the bottom of it, you attach the brick, voila, window is done. There's a number of those windows around here, and they just look so slick. They look so nice, so stinking nice. As we move a little bit further down, we have another flag, same coloring, red, and then the yellow. We have another one of those special little skinny windows. And then you get down to the bottom where we have some rocky outcroppings. We have some more trees. We have some more vegetation and flowers and stuff like that. Now, this is where there were a lot of bricks that were the ones that have the, oh my goodness, the where it kind of connects, the two pieces connect, the two 1x2s connect, and you with a pin essentially, so that you can have the movement and stuff like that. Those are locked into place here to get the angles of the towers, to the lookout towers. They are, if you want to call it anything, I guess it would be on the quote unquote second level, but they have those here. Again, they've rounded 1x1 modified, I say modified, the 1x1 rounded brick, right? The one that has the round across the top. Just a bunch of those here, some longer ones, the 1x4s, the 90-degree ones, the newer ones. So you do have all of that. What you also have here is you do have another windowed thatched area. This one has one window, same decoration color, the white on the black and the white, making those beautiful rectangles here and a thatched roof. It is built the exact same way as the other one is. Now, as you rotate ever so slightly, we are coming to the end of the side of this build. We're off to the right side now, and you don't really have much here. Now, just beyond this wall, there is a walkway. There is an actual walkway, and there's actually a few different walkways. You have your walkway from the second, well, it's almost not even like a second level. It's kind of like a 2.5 level. It's not even like the second level. Anyway, so you have your stairs that go down here to this level. You're tucked in behind the wall here. You're underneath the thatched roof. There is a doorway in here, which you can access, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But I like the different level changes here. You have different stairs. You have different landings and stuff like that. Just a lot going on. A lot of places to pose minifigs. A lot of places to, if you're into photography, there's a lot here you can do. So just behind this wall here, we do have a brick-built stand, which is, just like a watch stand. It's supposed to be made out of wood is what it's supposed to look like by the brown color that they use here, the dark brown. And then you have a vegetable stand here. I was going to say vegetation because I've said vegetation so much. You have a vegetable stand that is back here. A merchant selling some stuff, what is supposed to be like an orange. You've got some cherries. You have some maybe like spinach, that is what that dark green leaf is, and then some bread. Now this can be removed. This is a little side build that you build early in the beginning. You can absolutely move this if you want to. It's only held on by 2 studs on 2 tiles, and you can maneuver it and remove it. And the reason you can do so is because there's a door underneath it. If you move the fruit veggie stand, there is a trap. Well, it's not a trap door because it swings upward. So maybe you were trying to escape or something like that, or get away from, the bad people that might be chasing you or something like that. Or you had to get to the top super fast. Let's hope the stand isn't there because you might knock it over. Or you might not be able to open the door. Anyway, so that does flip open and it does allow you access from the area down below. So we'll talk about that next since we are moving around the side here. Now you will notice there are clips and there are 1x2 modified plate bar bricks. I know that was a handful or a mouthful to even say, but they have the 2 little bars that are in between the 1x2 rounded plates. Those are what your clips are clipping onto. And there's a reason for the madness, and we'll talk about it once we get further along here. But that is how everything is clipping together. So down in this little... It's not really a dungeon area. You could put your wizard down here. Maybe it's like a planning area. You've got some vegetation that is growing from the walls and the ceiling and stuff like that. You do have an archery board in here, a bullseye in here. You've got some candlelight that is going on. And, just this really kind of secretive place. You've got some weapons on the walls. And then there's a map down here with a cauldron, not a cauldron, what do they call them? The big glasses. I can't think of what they're called now. Anyway, so then there is a ladder up to the door that swings open above the fruit vegetation. I did it again. Vegetable stand that you can get access to the next floor and do whatever you want to do. So as I rotate this around to the back, there's a bunch that is going on back here. I absolutely love the way this is all done. It is so pretty. I'm sorry, it's just pretty. So let's go ahead, since we are already on the bottom, let's start on the bottom down here. And what I've got down here is this is where I'm hiding my wizard right now. You have a water fountain area where water is coming in from the outside, believe it or not. And they use one of those superhero pieces that I think Flash has them or something like that. But they use one of those to make it look like water. They're just coming into this, stone tub or whatever it is that is there. And you've got your oven, your cooking oven that is down here, your flame grilled oven, for your pizzas and stuff. You've got some utensils and pots and things like that hanging on the wall. You definitely have something already cooking in that oven because, they are hungry. They are fighting bad guys. They need to be eaten, right? You gotta be feeding your guys. It's an absolute must. So we are in this lovely section here in the kitchen. You've got something that looks almost like mistletoe. It's not. We have some turnips that are in here. You have some other spices and things that are in here hanging as well. Some bowls. You've got what looks like maybe a salad that's being made up right now. And you have a croissant that's in there. Just above that, we have an area, to make merry, where they have some sort of, it's not a piano, I don't believe, but it looks like a piano. It's a really cool little build that they have in here with a 1x2 tile that has the piano keys that are marked on it there. And you have a little fireplace that is going on in here. You've got some wood and an axe to chop it. Up above that on the top level, we've got a little play area, and I actually put one of my little kid minifigs that are in here because they're little kid minifigs, obviously. But I put one of them in here because this is essentially just the little play area. They've got what look like the original Lego castle they're building because it's all yellow, which is a really nice homage to, the original. And this minifig, which we'll get to a little bit later, she's got a little micro fig here that she is using to play with. The scale isn't quite right, but it'll work. There is a tiny little swinging door that can open to be able to get access to that. But your minifig is going to have a hard time, A, getting in under there, and B, straight through there because it is very, very narrow. As we move across, we are on the walkway that we saw from the front. So we are definitely in that position at the moment. Down below the walkway, we have our little water turning mill here that we are milling some grain in. But I want to bring your attention off to the right side, completely to the right here, on the top now, behind those 4 windows that we talked about early on. You have a very nice little, really cute bed in here, and they use the little clown hat with the little frilly ball type piece on top for bedposts here. I thought that was really cute. And there's a clip there as well. I don't really know why they would have the clip there. I assume you could put something there, or it's just meant to be just a decoration. I don't know. Anyway, so you have a brick-built bed. You have a green and yellowish banner that goes across the top where they use a modified plate. I like those. That looks pretty neat. It adds definition and texture and a nice little pop of color in there. There is a letter writing station here for your minifig to be able to write a letter if they so choose. If your little girl or dude or whoever. There is a brick-built tiled rug that is here as well. And then you also have a fireplace that is not working, but it is still a fireplace nonetheless. Down below that, we have the the dining area. And in the dining area, I did really like this because you have different printed, mind you, shields that are on the wall here. Actual, not like Nexo Knight shields, not like those, like the actual shields you hold in your hand. You have one that has some green chevrons on a yellow backing, a crown on a magenta backing, and some, I think those are spades. Spades? I don't know. I don't know my card stuff. On a blue background. You've got a nice little brick-built white table here. I love the decoration on this, just around the edges. It's meant to look like some kind of like a silky type tablecloth. Nice little decoration that's going on right there. You have a goblet. That's the word I was looking for, goblet. You have a goblet in here that you can drink from, and you have 2 really big brick-built chairs. You can fit minifigs in here, so that is nice. No light in there. It'd have been cool if they would have made a brick-built light of some kind. I think that would have been neat, but hey, whatever. Moving down to the bottom level here, we are down in the bakery area. You have a little section down here for your mill where you are dropping off your grain and whatnot, milling it into flour. And then you have, they use a very, very, a scarf piece that we've gotten in minifigs before. It's supposed to be like a really fluffy around the top of like a coat or something like that, right? And they use it here. And this is, I'm assuming this is just supposed to be like the flour that is coming in or whatnot that is basically being milled. It's a really cool look to it. I really like the way that is done, honestly. So you have that all closed up. You can close it up. You can, like I said, it's just a matter of clipping it together or not clipping it together. It is completely up to you. So before we move on to the next section, I do want to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in a moment. All right, so let's go ahead and kick off into this second area here. And this is the more larger build part of the entire castle. There's a part of the build down in the bottom that you do, like, if I'm not mistaken, it's like the very last bag. But a lot of this is where your motion is coming into play. This is where all your bigger decoration and stuff like that and the big bulk of your castle actually is. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the front. And this time I'm going to start off on the right side, just due to the fact that, well, I mean, we're going to be curling around to the other side because of the way that it connects to the other part of the castle. So that's just how we'll go about it. So what I've got here on the right side, we've got some trees and some decoration here at the bottom, some rocky texturing and stuff like that. As we move up, straight up, you have this big window. Again, we've seen these before. And this is your toilet. This is your toilet window, and this is where your toilet is. And okay, so I don't know if this was the Lego designer's sense of humor. Mike Siaki and Milan Maj, great designers. Okay, so if you are not familiar with how medieval quote unquote toilets work, this is what happens. All right, if you look at castles and you see an area where everything else is kind of flat, and then you see this little outcropping, and then there's kind of like this sloped hole, if you will. There is a reason for that. How this worked was you used to sit on some sort of receptacle, and your business would come out and down on the ground below. And then, you have your peasants or your whatever people who, I don't know what they were called, that would work in the castle or whatever, the subordinates or whatever. They got to clean it. They got to remove it or whatever, or just throw straw on top of it. That's what they used to do. Now, we'll get to the inside in a moment, but down below, you have 3 different colored frogs in this build, by the way. And I got to remember where the one is because it's hidden somewhere. And I can't remember. It's hidden really well. But there's a chocolate colored frog down here. And the only thing that I can think of is this poor frog was just minding his own business by the tree and just got pooed on. I hope that's not the case, but I think that's what's going on here. To the top, you have another watchtower that's up here. Another colors of flags again, the same red with the yellow that's sticking up. As we move to the left, you have another walkway here where your archer can be. There's some stones that they have up there, and they actually make mention of it in the instructions. If somebody were to happen upon your castle that you didn't want or whatever, you could drop some stones on them. It seems a little cruel, in my opinion. So in that section down there below, you do have some stairs that you can actually get up to. There is a doorway, but there is also a spot that is blocking you from getting in. There's a kind of like a caged doorway that you cannot enter. But you do have those really skinny windows that you have here as well. Some nice texture and stuff. And by the way, they use the 1x2 brick that has the brick, outlining and decoration on sporadically throughout. I mean, intermittently throughout. It's not the entire thing. It just, it just breaks up the texture a little bit. You do have a little, torch that is on the wall here at this little dock landing that you have. And I want to talk about this section right here because I thought it was really neat. And what you have is there is a 2x2 rounded brick that has ridges on the side that they use here as the ability to open your gate, so that if maybe you had to run out to the dock real quick, or you had to let somebody in real quick, you open up that gate and they can come in that entrance versus coming in the main entrance of the castle. So I do like that. That is gear driven, by the way. Something simple, but it is a really nice little fixture to have. So as we're continuing to the left here, you have a giant brick built tree. The main trunk of the tree is black, lots of green, actually has a beehive that is on it. Really nice brick built tree. That is one of the steps that you'll do later in the end after you have your castle built, just because, it's decoration and you don't want it getting in the way while you're actually doing some serious building. As we get to the main front of the castle here, where you have your main drawbridge and all that kind of stuff, you have a lot that is going on. Up top, you have your main 2 lookout towers and your giant walkway that is up here. You have your flag, your big fabric flag here, by the way, and it has the blue lion on it with the tongue sticking out, with the yellow backing and red piping that goes around the outside. Looks really sharp up here. I really like the way that stands out. And then you have an interesting little thing that is up here on the top. And you're like, oh, okay, it's a gearing mechanism. Yes, it's a gearing mechanism, and it has a few different things that it does. So there are a few different things that we have here. You have that gearing mechanism goes to the gate that closes behind the drawbridge. You have another 2x2 rounded brick that has the ridges on the side. That goes to the drawbridge. The drawbridge is driven by chains and some, Technic stuff, connectors and stuff that are going together. The drawbridge gate, not the drawbridge itself, but the drawbridge gate is actually just wound up by hand. And then the gear is catching on a Technic piece here, Technic 90-degree bar that they have here. And to be able to get that gate to go down super fast, let's say somebody is coming fast and you don't have the drawbridge up yet, you can slam that down because there is a Technic rubber piece here, a 1x2, that has the axle holes in it, and it allows you to drop the gate automatically. So that rubber piece is putting pressure onto the gear teeth right there. So I'm going to wind it up real quick and let's see what it sounds like. It just went down just like that. So that's what it sounds like. Obviously, it's not going to be super loud for you guys, but that's what the intent is behind it. So let's look at more of the exterior, and then we can talk about some more of the inner workings of the drawbridge and everything else on the inside of this section. So just underneath your watchtowers, you have that decoration as well, like I said. You have a window here. You have 2 more shields that are out here, a red lion, a blue lion on a yellow background, and a yellow lion on a blue background with red piping around both shields. Then just down below that in the center, you have this nice little entryway for your drawbridge, and then the gate. The gate is actually a really cool build in the way that they did it. I was really impressed with how they accomplished what they did with it, because they're using the 1x plates that are in a 90-degree angle. So you have 3 studs, right? And they use those with the 90-degree tiles, and it looks so nice. But when I was building it, I was like, how is this going to... It works perfect. It absolutely works perfect. So then as you move a little bit further down beyond that, you come down to the sides, and you've got more of those windows and stuff. You have a big... You have a big brick-built, rocky outcropping on both sides, really, 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 really large in comparison to other things. There's a lot of that going on as you're building up this behemoth of a main castle area. So the drawbridge works. It does go up. It's actually a really easy way of attaching it. It's a really easy build. I was really impressed with how simple it actually came together. I was expecting it to be a little bit more difficult. The one that we had with the last castle, the Creator 3-in-1, that one didn't work as well as this one, in my opinion. This one is weighted perfectly. The mechanism, as far as the chains go, it just looks cleaner. It just looks better, in my opinion. So moving out beyond that, we have our little area where you can have your minifig, or not your minifigs, your carriages or your minifigs or whatever are coming up through. Your horses are coming up through. It's just a little rocky landing that is built here to be able to get up over the water and stuff like that. I'm going to swing this puppy to the left here because this is where we need to go next. Again, that rocky outcropping is continuing around the corner here. And then we've got another window on the side that is sticking out. This is not a toilet this time. It is not. But there is a spot here. Nice decoration as well. You've got some more foliage, vegetation that is climbing up over this arch here, this walkway arch. And that is essentially where you are connecting the next part of the build. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because I guess we probably could have started on the other one. So continuing around here, this is where you are getting into like your dungeon and your spot for where all the bad guys need to be. If you can't behave, this is where you're going to end up. And that is what is going on here. You come around the corner. This, if you want to clip it all together, you absolutely can. Where we had the underground area with the map and the bullseye, the archery bullseye and stuff like that, that will connect to this little dungeonous area. There's not a whole lot in it, but it is a secret passageway. You can get through there. You do have a green frog that is in there. It's not a poo frog this time, but you do have a secret entrance here. So that secret entrance comes in underneath the very front. So you can get underneath the drawbridge in the front. I'm going to lift the drawbridge back up, and you just kind of sneak in between that rocky outcropping area that I was talking about on the front. So you can get into there and, invade the castle and nobody sees you come, and maybe you're a hobbit. And I don't know if the hobbits are good guys or bad guys, but that's not my point. Anyway, so down in this little dungeonous area, you have some bats and stuff. It's supposed to be very cave-like. You got some bats hanging upside down, sleeping. Please don't disturb the bats, okay? This is their natural habitat. Anyway, so then if you actually get to the dungeon part of this, you do have a little dungeon here, and you've got this poor little skeleton guy who just didn't make it. He didn't make it. I'm sorry, Bob. We'll take better care of you next time. He actually just fell out. He's dying to get out. Get it? Anyway, so let's move up to the next section here, and then we'll cross back over and come back down. Just behind the entrance of the actual gate where the drawbridge attaches, there's not a whole lot here. You do have a ladder up to the next story, the interior story. You do have a walkway that goes out to the side and connects to the other main part of the actual castle build. There is another little area that is in here, and I'm not quite sure what it is intended to be used for, but it's maybe to shower or something. I don't think they had showers or anything like that. But you have a little closed off gate here. The only thing that I could think of is maybe it's like a stable for a horse. I don't think you want to put a human in there. That would probably be a bad idea. But it looks more like a stable, but I'm sure that's probably what it is, and I feel probably dumb after that. Anyway, so moving up to the very top section here on the interior, this is your armory room, and this is where you have all of your weapons stored for battle, for storage, for just everything. So you have a weapons rack that is removable, and you have one that has some a quiver and bow and arrow on it. You have a bunch of different swords up here. Now, when you do this, it tells you to put 3 swords in here. I put all 4 because obviously there was an extra. It just looks better. You have what is supposed to look like a mace that you have here. They use a gear on a little pole there, real simple. Behind that, you have some shields, and you actually have some printed shields. You have some rounded shields. You have a spear that is back here. You have other spears that are around. You have a crossbow, which I thought was really cool for them to add. You have a few different helmets. And yeah, your armory is ready to go. All right, so the next thing that we're going to move to, we're going to shoot right across the top over here. And remember we talked about the toilet earlier? Yeah, we're back to the toilet. On the inside of the toilet, there are some interesting things that are in here. We've got some TP, which you need. You have your receptacle, your poo receptacle, because that's obviously important. And actually, that is where the gearing mechanism goes up and down for the gate. Can you imagine sitting on the toilet and the gate coming slamming down, on the secret hidden entrance on the side? I wouldn't say secret hidden entrance, but the secondary entrance. Can you imagine that? It would absolutely ruin my day and scare the poo out of me. Get it? Anyway, you have a little branch that is hanging here with a green flower on it. There's got to be some purpose to that. I don't really know. Maybe there's something I'm missing there. Maybe you can enlighten me. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so down below that on the next level, on the middle level, that is where your stairway comes in from that gate, that side gate. And then in the middle here, you have another section that you can take out that has some shields on it, has a spear, and also has, some flags that are hanging here. And then you have your helmets, your knight helmets or whatever that is going on. Down below that, you do have a little ladder that you can climb down. And if you take that ladder down to the ground, there is a little, another goblet that is sitting down here. And there is some magic wands. I don't know what you would really use those for unless you're a wizard, perhaps. Maybe the wizard wants to use them. And then that leads into this other little chamber. Let me see if I can get my fingers in it. It's such a pain to get out. Anyway, so this leads to a chest that's in here. You do have some prints that are in here they look like king cookies is what they look like. They have little crowns on them. You have a couple of those in there. And then you have some orange translucent pieces that are in here as well. There's also some other goodies that are down in there as well. So if you're like, you know what, I need more things, there are some things that you can put down there, things that you can use down in there as well. So that is kind of where everything stands. You can obviously attach everything, and I am not going to show you guys that. I'm not going to explain that. That's really super duper simple. But what is nice, like I had mentioned, is you can do it in one of two ways. You can really or a few ways actually, but you can connect it so that you have this whole long facade in the front. Or, if you don't want to do that, you can, move things around, adjust things just ever so slightly and just kind of get it however you want. Whether you can make a clip connection or not is, I don't want to say that's not the case. Maybe that isn't the most important thing to you. Maybe that is not the thing that you're like, you know what, I need to have this. But it is simple. It works really well. And then you end up with this beautiful castle build that you can, get everything in from behind. And it's just great. It's a really great, fun little build. So let's talk about your minifigs, because this is going to take a while. There are a ton of minifigs. All right, so the minifigs. Before we really do that, we've got a thing here. We've got another little build. You have a little cow, a little ox that is here, and he's pulling a nice brick-built wagon. You have a bird here. You have just some straw and some loose hay as well. I guess hay, straw. Anyway, you do have a little container here with a goblet that's, for whatever they're drinking. So that is the rest of the tiny little things. But let's go ahead and talk about minifigs. You've got a ton of minifigs here, and I was just kind of blown away by the sheer number that were here, just because that is not what I was expecting. I really was not expecting to see this many minifigs in this set. There's just a ton. And it's nice because with Classic Castle, there weren't any female, right? There weren't any female minifigs. Like they didn't have lipstick or anything like that. They didn't have any of that, right? Now the prints are much better and they look really good. So one of the minifigs that I've got here, now before I get really in depth with all these, you need to know that every single one of these guys here that I'm talking about that has a red torso, they have the shield, the blue backed shield with the gold line in the center. They have blue arms on the back. There's not a whole lot, just some little extra printing, to show, how whatever they're wearing is laying and stuff like that. On their legs, they have printing on the front, not on the back. But they have printing on the front that is just a continuation of whatever garb that they are wearing. So all of these dudes and ladies have the same exact print on their torso. So just to make sure everybody's aware, like, oh, I didn't know that this one. So one of your minifigs, you have a scared little dude here. He's got normal legs, but he looks like a young fella. He's got a scared face on one side, nice little hair on his wavy locks, and then he's got a nice little kind of a closed lip smile on the other. You have a gentleman here with some really funky hair. It looks like something like Lil Nelson would wear in Ninjago. It's kind of funky hair to see on this guy. Anyway, he is wearing his body armor, his metal body armor that he has. He only has one face because that hair doesn't go far enough down in the back. But he has one face here. He's just got a mustache and a smile. And you have an archer here. You got a female archer, which I like to see. She's got a winky face on one side, and on the other side, more of like an intense, business face. She comes with, obviously, her bow and her arrows as well that adorn her back. Let me move on to our other archer here. It is another female. This one only has one print on her face, and it is just a big smiley face. Now, I will say her print around her eyes and mouth and stuff like that, it seems to be thicker. I don't know why. It just looks thicker in comparison to some others. And we move on to another dude here and another dudette. They are wearing that special helmet that has, it's got the little tiny little metal rivets around the top. It's a flat top helmet, and then it obviously covers around the rest of their head, but you can see their face. It's supposed to be like the chainmail, I believe. Anyway, he has two faces. He's got a little goatee on one side, but he is smiling in one with his eyes closed, and the other one he's just kind of pleasant. Then we have another one here. This one is the female. Same helmet as the last. Eyes closed in one, eyes open, and a smile on the other. And we move to the lady that is training, and she's got this kind of knight helmet on. That's a full molded piece. It's not one that has a clip on in the front. And she's got the little blue hair, the rooster tail sticking up out the back, off the top, I should say. She comes with her sword, the kind of a plain Jane sword for the most part, the classic sword. And her shield, she has a yellow lion with a blue background and white piping. She has two faces, and this one has a freckle on it, so, you can kind of keep your character straight. One where she's just, lips are closed, smiling, and the other one, mouth open, smiling. This is got to be one of my favorite minifigs right here. This dude is supposed to be the trumpeter, and he's got his little brick belt trumpet that he has here, and he's got a pointed helmet on, just like a few of the others that we talked about. One side, he's got a smiley face, and in the other, we are seeing the classic face of maybe about to throw up, have something and chewing in mouth. I love the choice of this because it's meant to, he's pursing his lips together, getting ready to blow. I think it's awesome. I absolutely love it. So then we have that's aside from those that are all kind of part of the same clan, we're moving on here to the next one here, and we've got just a little fella, and he's got the short legs. He's got really poofy hair, only one face, smiling little dude. He's got the kind of the gear across the top on his chest, whatever their garb is that they used to wear on the front and the back. And then he's got vertical lines printed on his torso. Then we move on to this lovely lady. She's kind of got like the pharaoh hairpiece on. So she's got that. She does have two faces. This is in white, by the way. She has two faces, one smiling, one mouth open smiling. She's carrying a goblet, has a green dress, not a whole lot of printing to her. I do like her little sash/belt, whatever you want to call it, along her belly button line. And, you can see a little bit of the white that she might be wearing underneath her over gown thing that she's wearing. Then we move on to another individual here. This guy is the one that's got the cowl in the beginning and everything. He's got on his overalls. He's doing some work, and they cross in the back. I like that. He's got sideburns that are coming down the side. He's got some really wavy hair that's going on. He's got a mustache that's cut out in the middle, and it's only hanging off on the sides. Reminds me of one of the older fire guys that he had two eyes, a smiley mouth, and then he just had a little two-part mustache, one on each side, which is kind of funny. It's what it feels like here. Anyway, so he's got a smiling face, and he's just a happy dude. He's just happy to be here. One of the other animals that we get in here is we get a baby sheep in here. It's so cute. I just love it so much. It's just a baby. And, so you get that as well. Then we move on to the Wizard. Everybody wants to know the Wizard. The Wizard is classic. It looks just like the original Wizard. I don't have an original Wizard, but man, I love this Wizard. He comes with a backpack. He comes with a staff that has a jewel on top, the traditional hat that he has here, and he's got his Santa beard on as well. And we move on to these folks. We've got 3 of these folks. They all have the same printing, same everything on their torsos. They have the red gearing piece across the top, red arms. This is a green minifig torso and legs. They have some printing for where it's kind of almost sewn closed. They have a belt print as well. You have a little girl that has the micro fig. She's got some cute little face and some flowing hair. Then we move on to the dude playing this. I cannot remember what it is. They said it in the instructions, and I can't remember because it's 2 books long, and it's a lot of instructions. But he's playing his little guitar-type instrument. Maybe it's a keytar. No, it's not a keytar. He's got a quiver on his back, which is kind of odd. I don't really know why. He's got his little pointed hat on that points to the front and has a feather in his cap. Pretty nice little dude. Then you have a female, exactly the same, except she doesn't have an instrument to play with. And she only has one face as well, kind of a smirk more than anything. Anyway, moving on to the next one here. I like this guy's face. I want it so bad. It is so cool. So this dude has a blue pointed hat on. He does not have a feather on it. He's not a knight of any kind. He has a rake. He has a backpack on. Not a backpack, but he's got like an open pack in the back, like a bucket. And there's nothing in it. But, you can imagine putting something in it. Maybe he's going to steal the poo frog, Maybe he's scooping up the poo frog. Anyway, his face print is lovely. I'm assuming an older dude. So he's got some coloring of some gray and also some of the brownish color for his facial hair. He's got like the mutton chops kind of going on here. He's got a mustache and some really kind old eyes. He has dark brown legs. He has a belt that has a little pouch on it. Might be for his coins. And he's just kind of tied up across the top of his garment with the blue arms. Then we move on to the last few. There's another 4 or 5 left. We move on to the Queen. I love the Queen here. The Queen has her big sword. She's the only one, if I'm not mistaken, that has this specific sword. I love it. It looks great. It looks wonderful and awesome. I love this. She does have a tiara on her hairpiece, and April told me yesterday that these were in Friends, and I was like, you're right, that's where I've seen them. I could not remember. She has 2 faces, one that is very smiley and pleasant, and one that's kind of like, we're getting ready for battle, let's get intense and serious. She comes with a shield that has the golden tiger. I knew I was going to do it eventually. The golden lion, half of it blue, half of it red, and it has that kind of that yellowish piping around the outside. Her head can come off. She does have a cape on. I'm not going to take it off. She does have some print underneath her garments, but this thing is such a pain, the cape to get on. It is a blue lion with the gold, or I should say the yellow, and then the red outlining of this thing. Then you get your blue falcon dudes that are coming in here, and they have their pointed upward metal battle hats. This one guy just cracks me up. I'll get to him in a moment. But you have a lady carrying a flag here, and that's just all she really has. She's got a black helmet, same as the pointy one, the metal one for battle, and she's got the old classic sword. She has the blue falcon. I think it's blue falcons, right? On her emblem on her chest, the blue, the dark bluish gray, it looks really good together, and they're printed on the legs as well. Then we get on to this guy. This guy's got a walking stick. He's got a backpack. He's got a pail and a sleeping bag with it. He's got a flag with it, and he just looks not very happy. By the way, his print is identical to the last one. Helmet is identical. He has 2 faces. One, well, he has like mutton chops as well. The long sideburns, they just feel more like mutton choppy, like they're going that way. Anyway, he has one side where he's just kind of like, I don't really know about this. And then another one where he's absolutely scared, mouth agape, eyes freaking out. I don't know what he's scared about. Did he see a bear? Did he see a ghost? Maybe he ran through the cave with the bats. Maybe that was a thing. I don't know. Either way. So I also forgot to mention the Queen also has she's got her helmet as well with a golden mask on it. It has white feather off the top of it. and it's just a normal gray helmet. But I don't have that on her at the moment. Then we move on to another individual here. We move on to one of our other knights. She is wearing the same garb as the very first group that I talked about, but I have her on horse. So I was like, I totally forgot she's on horseback. How could I forget? But she has a gray helmet with a gray mask that you can put up and down, a red feather in the top. Her shield is the blue lion with the red piping and a yellow background. She comes with a very long axe that means business. The horse, it's a nougat colored horse. I do like the way this is done. The new version of the horses, I should say. And then you have this giant solid piece that is in red that has the lion that has the lions on it, and you just chill her in there. It does have clips on it. I believe the old ones had clips on it, if I'm not mistaken. If you choose not to have that on, or you want to take that off and put the horses back together, the insides of the horse, that comes with both of them as well. So the other horse that we have here is more of a darker, not a dark tan, a very light tan here. I really like the color of this horse. I think I already have one like this. Anyway, so you obviously have the print on the horse's face and stuff like that. And then you have the print on the blue body, the blue decoration, the drape that goes over the horse. And it has the Blue Falcons logo. I'm going with it. I'm rolling with it. The guy that is on here, he's got a lovely little mustache. And he's very giggly on the one side, and the other side, he's just happy. But you can't see any of that because when he has his helmet on that has the kind of like the crucifix across the top, black helmet with the black feather sticking out of the top, you can't see his face. You only see his eyes and part of his eyebrows. He is he has a black sword as well. It's not the regular classic sword. It's a little bit smaller than the Queen sword. Anyway, his shield has the logo of his faction as well, so I do like that. So there is a lot here. And I told you I wasn't going to be able to find my golden frog. I'm going to have to go back through the instructions and figure out where exactly it's at. I could not find it. I paused in between recording and looked for probably 15 minutes, and I can't find it. I will find it eventually. But as a whole, the set is fantastic. Oh, and I did forget one minifig. If you want to classify him as a minifig, the skeleton, yes, he is technically a minifig, but I don't really look at him as a minifig because he's dead. Or he's bones. He might not be dead. He just might be bones because we're in Castle Land. The wizard's there, and the wizard can make him come to life. You never know. Anyway, so as a whole, you have the drawbridge that goes up and down, which is really neat. You have the hidden entrance, or the secret entrance. You have the side gate that goes up and down. You have the main gate that goes up and down and slams down very quickly in the way that is done. You have a bunch of cloth things that are very, very important to people. You have classic figures to a certain degree. You don't have the, 2 dots and a mouth type thing, but you're getting a different version of minifigs here. And I really like what is going on with all of that. It really works well. My only thing was, now I know this is a 90th anniversary set. My only thing was, you're getting all these different factions of guys and gals and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, where's the battle? Who are they going to fight? I need somebody for them to fight. It's not just peace in the land. There has to be an antagonist. So I'm going to have to find an antagonist and shoot some photos or have some fun and play with this later. I'm running out of space, though. I've got some other things that we need to review coming up and some stuff that is already built that's sitting here. But I definitely want to do it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to just play with this kind of stuff and then set it all up. And I will tell you one thing. There, you're going to find, as large as this castle is, it's of decent size, and it has great depth to it. And not like it's this many inches deep. No, there's a lot of detail to a majority of the castle. In each of the little sections, in each of the little vignettes, in each of the little rooms, there's a lot of detail. So when I say depth, there's a lot of detail to the entire thing. Now, obviously, your little stable area or your hay, if you want to store hay in there, that's really not because, you're just sticking a horse or a cow or whatever you want to put in there. But as a whole, there's so much here. And $400 to me, absolutely. I'm waiting for it to go on sale. Well, not on sale, but up for sale because I want to get another one because I really want to have a big castle. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but I want to have a big castle, and I have some plans for this, and I have some ideas. I got some inspiration from it, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, honestly. I think it'd be really neat to do. This did take a long time. This took a very long time. I would guess in the realm of a minimum of 12 hours, but it is one of those building experiences I think you're honestly going to come away from. And like I said in the beginning, there wasn't a moment of, oh God, I have to do this now. Oh, can I please just get through this bag? There was never any of that. There was some of that with the roller coaster. It's like, all right, I have already done this 3 times. I have to do it how many more times? Oh God. It was the same way with the Titanic. Some of those other big builds, where you're building symmetrically. There's not a whole lot of symmetrics that are going in here because you're building a thing that can open and close 2 separate parts and then also connect together to make one big scene. So you don't really have all of that. But I've got to say, I am super impressed with this Lego. I hope there is more of this in the future. I hope it's not a one and done. Pirates of Barracuda Bay was a one and done. We had the Forestman GWP, which I've got that coming up here next week. We've just got other things. And I just hope that it's not a one and done. I hope they bring back just a little bit at a time, little factions or whatever, little scenes, little vignettes that are kind of going on to be able to add to this, but also maybe not add to it, but just have it in conjunction with this, I think would be a lot of fun for a lot of people. Because at the end of the day, the classic castle, the classic space, the classic town stuff, that's what people gravitate to. A lot of it, that's what they gravitate to. Fabuland aside. But I'm really impressed with the way this is done. I hope you guys have as much enjoyment building it as I did. Again, I know it's expensive, and you don't need this day one. You don't need any Lego day one. Yes, you do. But if you wait, it's going to do that thing for the next year where it's in stock, out of stock, in stock, back order, out of stock. And it just keeps going back and forth. If you don't get it in August, you are going to, I honestly think you're going to have a hard time getting it around the Christmas season. It's going to be a hot cake. It's just going to go boom right off the shelf constantly. So just keep that in mind, plan accordingly. There's all kinds of other things that are coming out. We already know that. Just the things that have already been announced at LegoCon, and the stuff that drops in in August in the United States. There's just so much. So yeah, I'm gonna have some fun shooting some pictures with this. I don't have the best photo sense. I'm just gonna shoot some things and put it out there and be silly with it, add in my sig fig into it, and just have a little bit of fun with it. So hope you guys enjoyed this show. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I will be out of town on vacation for the next 5 days. So I will see you guys next week. We will have a News on the 2 segment next week. We will also have a few other things, a few other interviews that we're going to pepper in throughout the week. We've got the ship that is coming that I need to review. That show is going to be next week as well. So there's a lot of things next week. So if you haven't gotten caught up, make sure you get caught up because there's plenty of stuff to check out and, wet your whistle for the Lego love. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's bet on it.